Walmart's always thinking ahead, always thinking ahead. Walmart's all about their bottom line and making things cheaper for the consumer. And so where they can cut, they're going to look at where can we make this a better option for us. They move with speed, but they also move slow too. It's Walmart. Hopefully they don't kill me for saying this. We get sued every 90 seconds.
Because the target is so big on your back.
Yeah, so big. And it's not Spark, it's not drivers, because you're Walmart. They want so badly to control them, tell them what to do. They don't just stay still.
What I love about what's happening right now in Final Mile is a surge of opportunities. The one thing that is inevitable is change. If you're not thinking ahead and trying to position yourself for those opportunities, because there will continue to be opportunities. You can either sit there and be a victim to it, or you can be a creator from it.
There was a bigger play in a lot of companies to start to grow a partnership role. How can other companies almost get your name out there, and how could you help each other, right? We have been making or thinking about those decisions for 5 years out. We're already planning for what does the next 5 years look like. Let's start having those conversations and getting things approved, so when it is time to pull the trigger, we can say, okay, we've already got through legal, we've already gotten through compliance and digital citizenship, even down to marketing emails when we're sending out emails to drivers. So it was watching how fast they can change and how quickly they're changing.
How our industry is now becoming more critical in those supply chain solutions. Walmart Spark, it was designed to eliminate some of the courier companies, the agents, and go directly to the driver. I mean, drivers now?
Not sure if I'm allowed to say the exact amount, but we're over.
Want more game-changing insights from the best and last mile delivery? Stay locked in with Last2First. Follow us on social media for exclusive clips, behind-the-scene content, and expert tips. Subscribe to our podcast so you never miss a beat. Join the conversation. Send us some comments, drop in your questions, and become a part of the Last2First movement. Want to be a guest or know someone that should be? Hit us up and let's get them on the show. If you're interested in sponsorship opportunities, reach out to us. We'd love to work with you. Find us on social media with @Last2First Podcast. Send email to info@last2firstpodcast.com, or go check out our website and let us know how we can support, help, and bring you better content going forward. Now back to Last2First.
I'm Carly Fliesher, Senior Manager of Partnerships at Walmart, and you are watching the Last2First Podcast.
Fast and reliable delivery isn't just a luxury, it's a necessity. And that's why over 270 global brands trust Drop-Off with their deliveries. With real-time tracking, professional couriers, and flexible scheduling, Drop-Off ensures your shipments meet their critical destinations on time, every time, down to the minute. So whether you're in the healthcare, retail, or industrial sectors, or just need a logistics partner, Drop-Off has the experience, the delivery network, and the technology to propel your business in over 40+ cities. Visit dropoff.com, click on Talk to an Expert, and use the L2F discount code and get 10% off your first month's invoice. Now back to Last2First. All right, Last2First family, we're back with another exciting episode. Today we have someone with us who has had a diverse career, not necessarily a carrier, but a influencer, and I would say someone that has played a critical role in the expansion of this industry from a driver compliance standpoint, and also is with a big player today in the marketplace that's doing some really exciting things. And we're going to talk about opportunities that you can take advantage of with her company. We're talking to Carly Fliesher, who's the Senior Manager of Partnerships at Walmart. Carly, welcome to the podcast.
Hi, Jason. Thank you. Thanks for having me.
So it was less than a year ago, me, you, and Mitch were sitting around at the bar, drinks in our hand. I was like, Carly, you know what? I'm going to start a podcast.
And I was fully on board with this idea.
I'm excited to have you on. We got some history. We go back.
We do.
History, people might think
good history. It's not bad history.
Get your mouth together. None of that history. We'll come back to Walmart, but just got to start the story off. When we first met, you were working for a company called DDI, and you were a new player in the industry. You came to a conference, and you were trying to essentially offer your third-party driver management solutions.
Yes.
When was that? What year was that?
Oh, man, that was about 10 years ago. So we're in 2025 now, so probably 2015.
Yeah.
And we were primarily in the food delivery last mile platform. And my owner at the time, Aaron, he was like, we need to get into a bigger space. I know there's more drivers out there. So I found the courier space and found CLDA and ECA. And so I think Swan and Dolphin Hotel was like my first, in Florida. That was my first show ever attended.
Yeah.
Met some characters.
So, a lot of characters.
Can't leave. I can leave.
Yeah.
So
You left. You did leave for a second. You came back.
It's true.
You came back.
It's true.
But that's really cool to say that from then to where you are now and being the person that's instrumental in creating partnerships for Walmart.
Yes.
For their same-day delivery solution, which is primarily called Walmart Spark, is the platform.
Spark Driver. Yeah.
Spark Driver. So talk about what Walmart is doing in the same-day space.
Yeah. So in the same day space, we are actively today working on how do you get product to the consumer faster. We all know everybody is impatient, wants things faster. So how can we create more than 1 hour or 2 hour time slots for people to order and get their food faster, like grocery delivery? So Spark Driver primarily focuses on grocery delivery, but then we also have other things like I mentioned to you, I think back in the day or even today, Go Local, which is a white delivery platform, and then In-Home, which is not just so it can be last mile depending on what the product is for In-Home, but we also move that product as well from our stores and Walmart stores.
So the Walmart Spark or Walmart Driver.
Spark Driver.
So that's essentially Walmart's answer to the boom in e-commerce, getting products from the actual store, leveraging these stores, which are really big warehouses.
Yes.
And getting home delivery done. We're going to dig way deeper into that. And then you have the Go Local, which I didn't even know that until you told me that a second ago.
Yeah.
So Go Local is a Walmart-owned brand.
Yep. There's a lot of Walmart-owned brands out there that people don't know, but yeah, Go Local.
And that's to augment the Spark program with being able to offer the same services to other clients.
Yeah.
Maybe
can't set up their own delivery platform maybe, or don't have the time or bandwidth or don't know how to pivot as quickly and want to. So that's where Go Local gets to enter into the space.
And from just so we get a sense of like the size and scale of that, how many drivers are on that program today? What's the and maybe how much growth has happened how long you been doing that?
So Spark Driver started 6 years ago, and it started with the company DDI when DDI got acquired by Walmart, which a lot of people don't know, 2 years ago. And so it started from the ground up. Spark Driver was actually partnered with DoorDash and some other third-party platforms like Roadie and other things like that to help them get the last mile groceries delivered. And once DDI came into play, we would have roadmaps of how can we recruit drivers, fast into these places so that they could start to eliminate some of the third parties for the last mile. And once they did that, that's when they made the play to acquire DDI.
Managing independent contractors and gig workers is tough. Between onboarding, compliance, insurance, and payments, it's a lot to handle. And one mistake can put your entire business in jeopardy. That's where GigSafe comes in. Your all-in-one solution for managing independent contractors and gig workers, seamlessly and cost-effectively. Get drivers onboarded in days, not weeks. Automate compliance and save up to 40% on insurance. Visit gigsafe.com and give them the L2F discount code to get 10% off your first month's invoice. Now back to Last to First. Let's go way back. We'll catch back up.
Yeah.
DDI, Delivery Drivers Inc. It's founded by Aaron.
Yes, Aaron Hagman.
Yeah. I see him on LinkedIn.
He's busy. He's consulting. He's living the dream.
He's living the dream. Yeah. Aaron, I got you on the podcast.
You might see me.
yeah. We got to get you on the podcast.
Maybe, Aaron, I'll invite you. Let's do
that. But DDI wasn't founded to solve the final mile problem. What was DDI's initial kind of origin in the space?
Really, Aaron found it as he was a driver himself, and he saw the opportunity to purchase DDI when he was in college, and he took the opportunity, did it. And he saw an opportunity to be there for the drivers and for the owners themselves too. The business owners was fully compliant based from start to finish, from onboarding to enrolling drivers, insurance, to audits, any type of audit, wage and hour, to the bigger things that you see today.
In the food space.
And and it started in the food space. So he actually was a driver for a company back in the day called Restaurants on the Run. Okay. They had gotten acquired by Grubhub back when they were a client of DDI's. Okay. And we had a big book of business for food delivery platforms at the time, which that was way before its time, I guess, which we didn't know, but that's how it got started.
So exactly. So the audience gets clarity on what you guys actually did. You guys provided drivers, you manage drivers. What exactly you?
No, that's a great clarifying question. So we didn't manage any drivers. Really what we did is let's say, Jason, you were a client of ours when you back in the day drop off, let's say as an example. You would have brought on DDI to be a third-party administrator. We would have helped you with your staffing issues. So we would have run recruiting ads. We would have helped you find the drivers. We would have then vetted them for you before you would have brought them on. Okay. And then once you liked them, we would also help you acquire all their paperwork and make sure it's compliant, make sure that they're within all the legal restrictions, right? If your driver's license is out of date, we'd make sure we got all the correct information. Insurance, and then we'd also any audits, but we'd help almost guide our clients on, hey, this is the how-tos to stay compliant. Not manage the drivers, but help you manage the drivers properly to not show control if you had an independent contractor.
Got it.
Not W-2. We never really dealt in the W-2 space.
We haven't talked about it a lot on the podcast yet, but anyone that operates in this space, one of the biggest threats and concerns is misclassification.
Yeah.
And that deals with, in layman's terms, when you misuse or control someone designated as an independent contractor or a 1099, you hear them referred to, versus an employee, someone that's a true W-2. And so in this space, because so many people use independent contractors and it's a very entrepreneurial space, those drivers can become master contractors, become owners very quickly.
Yep.
It's a predominant model used. But because of this issue and the legal issue, you have to have things in place to help guard the rails on 100%. Misuse. DDI did that. But then you said earlier, you actually helped DDI enter into the final mile space because it was doing food delivery. So you're doing the compliance and stuff for food delivery, but you found the way into final mile. What drove that?
Yeah, into the final mile and the courier aspect. Aaron was looking for ways to grow the business, and we knew that there were other types of contractors or ICs out there. But what really aligned with what we were doing today, and carriers were, and that kind of IC model was the next step. The rules and regulations, while different, are somewhat the same. And the way you are looked at and are judged if you are an employer relationship versus IC is a lot of the same. There are obviously different rules if you're going long trucking, let's say, going across states and stuff. But that's ultimately what led us here, is it was so similar. And the name Delivery Drivers Inc., DDI, it fit the name.
All right, so we look more into your career because I want to also get back to Walmart and what you do now. But so you're having success with DDI. You guys came into the traditional courier, final mile, parcel space, away from food, having traction. But then you left DDI and you went to Grubhub.
Yes.
What was that experience like going to, at the time, Grubhub was pretty big. It was kind of versus DoorDash in a run race.
Yeah. At the time, Grubhub had, at that time, just acquired a ton of delivery platforms. And I think that they didn't really know how and what they were doing from a leadership standpoint and how to bring everybody together. And so while we were expanding, my role there was market manager. So I was overseeing Southern California and Hawaii and San Bernardino, but I had to grow Hawaii and set up Hawaii. Okay. So within Grubhub, and going back to your question, it's like they didn't really care so much, I think, about what the experience was that the people they had and how to run things, more so just how do we get more customers? And we want those customers. I would have customers who had have issues with their delivery. As a market manager, you would think I would have the ability to give them a 10% off code because they got ran over by a driver in the parking lot or something. I didn't even have that access to do anything like that. They didn't give us anything like that. Wow. So I think there was a big miss back when I was there at that time of like customer service and really taking care of what the customer's needs were and how do you handle the drivers and driver satisfaction too and keep them happy on the platform at the same time. There's an even medium.
What is huge, because any owner in this space will tell you one of the most important things is you got to think about is that the customers aren't just my partner, the drivers are my partner.
Yes, and people forget that.
People forget that. You think these guys or ladies work for you. No, they work with you.
Yeah.
And I think that's a great point you made. And who knows if that was really the reason they didn't ultimately win the race against DoorDash.
Yeah, DoorDash came in and stomped them at least in our area. Wasn't my fault.
So but you ended up leaving Grubhub and went back to DDI. And what capacity and what role did you go back to DDI with?
But when I left, I was sales and marketing. And when I went back as director of operations and oversaw the team on that side, and then from there, I actually left for a little bit and had a kid, but I went on maternity leave and then came back and was VP of partnerships. So there was a bigger play in a lot of companies to start to grow a partnership role. And how can other companies almost get your name out there and how could you help each other, right? And Aaron saw the opportunity there within me being a networker and whatnot. And so I got to start growing partnerships.
Need to right size your business or scale it, and you want to avoid all the hassles and growing pains? Meet AdLink, your go-to partner for outsourced talent solutions, keeping your delivery operations running seamlessly and profitably. From customer service reps to dispatchers, including those difficult to staff nights and weekends, to back office admins, AdLink trains each logistics coordinator in your processes and native systems to get the job done right every time. And with top-tier security and compliance, your data is always protected. Optimize, scale, succeed. Go to adlink.com and use the L2F discount code and get $200 off your first month's invoice. Now back to Last2First.
With DDI, took on that role.
Okay. And let's get back into a couple things before we get back into the Walmart piece. Food delivery versus parcel delivery.
Okay.
From your seat, where you're on a compliance standpoint, you're trying to advise and help companies stay compliant to both laws and customer contracts. What's the difference between those two?
There's quite a few, depending on In the last mile space, there's not a lot. Within food delivery, there are major differences where you have to have certain cards in certain places to ensure maybe your car is clean. It really can come down to state and city regulations as well. Like you look at South Bend, Indiana. They want every car to be inspected to make sure it's clean before you can go and do food delivery. That comes down to a real specific area. That's not
like every day inspect.
If you want to just get into it, you have to have a sticker on your car.
Wow, okay.
So once you get that sticker, you can go and do food delivery.
Okay.
Let's say we're looking at state level and federal level, you still have your normal compliance regulations, either ABC test or the common law. Now we obviously have California and I think New Jersey where it's the Prop 22. Prop 22.
22.
Regulations are getting harder, obviously, everywhere. And you have to stay up to speed. We did that at DDI and that's what one of our biggest roles were. But going into that kind of final mile in the carrier space, there were just a lot more regulations around certain things. If you got into bigger trucking, you had to have mile logs, right? You may have to have drug screening, where food delivery, you didn't have to have drug screening.
Yeah.
It really also depended on the clients we had. We had certain clients who took it very seriously and were like, I want to know everything. We had live background checks instantly known. But yeah, drug screening made it harder because it depends on if they're moving medical, logging your hours, making sure they're sleeping, if they're on the road for a certain amount of time.
Hours of service.
Yeah.
Yep.
So it's just widely different when it comes to that. And if you're new to this space, you don't know that. You have to really do your research.
Yeah,
and people will tell you. I will tell you when you're new. If you don't know, if you look new, they'll tell you. So I got told that a few times, and I told them I'll figure it out.
Yeah. All right. So then let's get into. So DDI gets acquired. You then get the opportunity to work for the biggest company in the world.
Yes.
Walmart.
Yeah.
Walmart's getting into. At that point, they were already into same day, but. Yeah. What did you identify as a gap opportunity when you first got into Walmart?
People don't realize within Walmart, Spark is like a separate entity of Walmart. It's owned by Walmart, and Spark's only 6 years old. And when we got acquired, it was really a small team of people running Spark. And so the opportunities within that specific org itself, there was a lot, obviously. You get down to procedures, you get down into ways of working, and they were really good about having their orgs and their pillars, and they still are. Yeah. And they're really good at always re-looking at their orgs and pillars and saying, where do we need to re-org? Okay. So they don't just stay still, and they constantly are evolving into, okay, this might not make sense now. It maybe did last year, and this is how it worked. But now we're seeing more fraud pickup, or now we're seeing customers wanting 4-hour time slots versus 2-hour because they want extra time, or maybe 1 hour because they want it quicker. So what does this org look like, and how much more product people do we need to add? And so it was looking at watching how fast they can change and how quickly they're changing, where when you come from a smaller company, you don't have that or that funding to do
resources.
Things. Resources.
To do that.
Seeing that.
So you see the ability to have the resource to move, be a big company, be able to move with speed.
They move with speed, but they also they move slow too. It's Walmart. Yeah. Fun fact, and hopefully they don't kill me for saying this, but we get sued every 90 seconds because you're Walmart. And it's not Spark, it's not drivers. Yeah. It's just in general Walmart. And so every decision we do make, it does take a while to make it, but we have been making or thinking about those decisions for 5 years out. So like we're already planning for what does the next 5 years look like. Let's start having those conversations and getting things approved. So when it is time to pull the trigger, we can say, okay, we've already got through legal, we've already gotten through compliance and digital citizenship, things like that you need to that people might not think about. Like even down to marketing emails, when we're sending out emails to drivers, how do they reply to us? How is that looked at? Is it an opt-in? Mm-hmm. So there's just different things that I think from a small company, you don't think about as much. You have to consider when you come from a big company.
Because the target is so big on your back.
Yeah, it's so big.
And inside the Walmart Spark program, so you mentioned earlier that it was designed to eliminate some of the courier companies, the agents, and go directly to the driver.
Within Spark driver,
Within Spark driver, certainly. There's an obvious question there is, why? I think we know why. It's to get to a cost efficiency model. But when you do that...
Not just that, though.
Okay.
I think, so there was a lot of confusion, too, I think, within the customer side of things, too. I ordered through Walmart. Why is DoorDash delivering for me and things like that? And so I think it was also to just work through procedures and processes to make things a little bit more smooth throughout the whole platform. It had nothing they weren't doing anything wrong. It was also costing them a lot. In Walmart, it's all about their bottom line and making things cheaper for the consumer. And so where they can cut, they're going to look at where can we make this a better option for us. And so that was part of that decision.
Got it.
And I said,
Got it. Okay, so Walmart Spark evolves into trying to go directly to the driver. Yeah. You mentioned how many drivers now, or
not sure if I'm allowed to say the exact amount, but we're over 1 million active, but on a daily basis, about 500,000.
Okay. So is all that managed? Is all that managed through just the app, through the platform? Like, how do you manage that type of network?
Yeah. We're constantly recruiting. We do have a recruiting team. We have an onboarding team. We're constantly running ads. They're constantly vetting and they're bringing them on. It's all through the app. We do have wait lists. So not a driver can't just apply and turn on and then they're instantly a driver. If we're oversaturated, you are on a wait list and you have to wait. But it's all managed through the app on the customer experience side of things. We also have customer support, which is the side I sit on, the driver side. But yeah, that's all through the app.
In the delivery business, efficiency is everything. And that's where Dispatch Science gives you the edge. Their modern, cloud-based, AI-powered transportation management system optimizes routes, tracks orders in real time, and automates processes to save you time and money. If you're serious about scaling your business and staying ahead of your competition, then Dispatch Science is your next move. So visit dispatchscience.com today and give them the L2F discount code where you'll get 20% off your first month's invoice. Now back to Last2First. Got it. Okay. And if I'm a owner of a courier company right now, are there any ways that I can work with you, your team, with this program besides just my concern probably be you can just take all my drivers. Right?
No, and we don't. That's not our goal.
Yeah,
you can partner with Walmart, and we still have overflow. That if there's always going to be, and I think this was always at DDI, this was always an issue. Like let's say you have multiple locations. Sorry, I keep hitting the mic. We have multiple locations. Let's say you're in, I'm trying to think of a random spot. Let's say San Bernardino, California. Okay. It's very hard to staff there. It's a sketchy area, but we may need overflow there because there might be one driver on the platform. So we use some other partners, third parties, and we have Go Local as well. Okay. And Go Local actively looks for some of these partners too, to partner with us. So there are opportunities there. We also have the middle mile trucking that I don't sit under that umbrella, but I know who I can contact or at least give the information to companies if they're wanting to figure out, hey, how can I help move product or store product, things like that.
Let's explain the middle mile for Walmart.
Like from warehouse to store.
So you're moving product inventory from a warehouse to the store, where then the local driver or the agent, if you're using one, picks up and delivers.
And or big truckers.
Got it. Yeah. Now, one of the things when I did some homework on Walmart Spark, you guys do some pretty interesting things for the driver in terms of benefits, gamifying the system a little bit. I want to dig into giving our audience ideas about how they can better manage their contracts, their relationships with their drivers, because we all know drivers are so critical and instrumental to our success.
Yes.
But I don't think a lot of people really understand how to navigate that, how to motivate them, how to incentivize them, beyond just trying to throw another buck or two or a high percentage at them. What are some of the things you have found successful in getting drivers motivated to perform?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. So when it comes to motivating the drivers and how to keep them happy, I think on the platform, when you have independent contractors, a lot of people, they want so badly to control them and tell them what to do. But at the end of the day, we know that's a cheaper model. And it's easier for companies to afford and stand up, especially within how much maybe sometimes they're driving, things like that over time, depending on what state you're in. I, at Walmart, actually own right now the loyalty program under Spark Driver, which is the gamification you're probably alluding to. Certain trips have a certain customer rating. They can earn a free W Plus membership. They can earn other discounts with partnerships that I've stood up. Okay. So that's one way we incentivize them and it's on a monthly basis. Okay. So they have to continue to do it. And so that gives them extra perks to work towards. Yep. One, I think notifying drivers in advance of all the perks that they have that they can take advantage of when they start with a company. A lot of companies don't really outline that, I think, from the beginning. And poor job of communicating that. That was an opportunity for Walmart, and it still is, and we're getting better at it, and that's with product build. But then also incentives. So we're constantly reviewing incentives on our platform. Where are they needed? Where do they go? What's hitting? What's not hitting? Is it a sports game like Super Bowl? Is it a holiday?
Yeah.
How are we paying them out? And without getting in trouble to a certain extent.
Sure.
And incentives can get expensive depending, but you don't, just because you have an incentive doesn't mean it has to be the same across the board.
Okay.
So when I worked at Grubhub too, it was something called True Up, where if you were in California, you earned your minimum wage and we'd true you up if you didn't make that.
Okay.
That was a certain incentive.
Yeah.
But within Walmart, we'll offer maybe $2.50 in one market, an incentive for an additional. If we're having issues, we'll broadcast an offer. Say, okay, it's going to start at $2 extra in tip if you take it now, or incentives. And as it goes up, 25, 50 cents as it keeps going. So we look to see, okay, when are these orders actually getting accepted? What's that even medium? But it doesn't mean we just put out one flat incentive the whole way through. Yeah. We change it out, and we always look and see what's hitting, what's not hitting, to keep them motivated.
And I got to imagine you're constantly trying to improve the process, see what's more effective.
Yep.
And from a driver standpoint, we would do this too when it had QSETs. We would try to. The biggest challenge we had was building a backup network redundancy, particularly like routed work. We work with independent contractors. So how do I keep someone who's not the primary driver interested in this route, available, knowledgeable? So we would pay them to train and learn, but then we started trying to figure out other ways to just incentivize them to.
Were they ICs and you said train? Just kidding. You orientated them.
QSETs is so no longer my problem. But no, you orient them.
Yeah.
So tell me, why is that important? Why the distinction you just made?
Okay, when you're getting audited, the word training, you have training manuals when you're an employee, right? Yeah. You're going to give a training manual. That insinuates that there's an employee-employer relationship.
Okay.
If you were training. If you have to train someone to do their job, that means that they're an employee. Example, if you're a plumber, you're an independent contractor, you know how to do your job. So you shouldn't have to train the plumber how to come in and fix your toilet, right? Mm-hmm. So training, just by nature, is a trigger word for an auditor. So if you have a training manual, throw that away. Get an orientation manual. It's a little better because orientations are also not mandatory, where training usually is mandatory for a job. So that's why.
That's huge. Other ways that, thank you for correcting me.
You're welcome. Okay. Sorry.
Like a good compliance officer would. What are the other ways that a big entity like Walmart helps to mitigate the risk for misclassification and protecting these little details we're talking about that can be huge issues if it's not managed properly?
Yeah, it's huge. So we have all types of pillars. We have a legal team, obviously. Everything that we do has to go through legal first.
Got it.
They have to put their eyes on it. And then once we create comms around it, we have to make sure legal reads those comms, and any type of trigger word that you can think of, we're looking at, and we should have that beaten into us by now. The words paycheck is not something you should be using. You can use the word earnings, but not paycheck. So go view your earnings. Don't go view your paycheck and your bank account type of thing. So the first step is always compliance and legal. Yeah. So we have those pillars to mitigate that. Two, also, we don't really communicate with the drivers one-on-one. We do have customer support. We have chats, but it's training them to make sure that they're knowing what to say and saying the right things as well, to try and keep our hands off of the drivers in that sense. And also letting the app dictate the routes and not us as Walmart dictating the routes, right? They can go out and do whatever route they want, really. However they feel they want to get to the customer. If they're truly independent contractors, they can do it. Yeah. But we're just suggesting, hey, this is the best route you might want to take to go and get this done to make the most efficient earnings on your settlement check.
Yeah. Running a delivery business comes with risks, but being unprotected shouldn't be one of them. That's why many successful business owners trust CUI Agency for their insurance and risk management needs. For over 50 years, CUI has helped transportation companies understand their unique risk, learn how to reduce their costs, and protect what matters most: their business, their people, their assets. Specializing in commercial auto, hire and own, cargo, warehousing, and other liability policies, the CUI team tailors each solution to fit your needs, coverages, and risk. So no more last-minute quotes, and definitely don't leave your future to chance. Visit CUIagency.com, speak to one of our experienced producers, and take back control of your destiny. Now back to Last2First.
And
you ingrain that type of language. You're tied to the why.
Yes.
Because I remember sitting in meetings too, and I'm talking to dispatchers, and they made the same mistake I just made. So you got to come in for training.
Yes.
Right? And we even stopped even doing it. We would have drivers come in to try to educate them on new opportunity, new customers. We stopped doing that because that became an issue. And sometimes it's a challenge to navigate this stuff. The rules are the rules, and I think there's enough information and tools out there now for you to do that successfully.
Yeah, and I would just say one thing. If you're going to say it, it's fine. Saying no one can point back. But if you're going to put it in emails or writing, just be ready to don't delete that or try and back that out, because you don't want those to be pulled. Because when you get audited, all of that gets pulled. So if you're going to do any training with staff, I would just ensure if they're going to say it, that's fine. It's not fine, but you can't stop people from wanting to say certain things, but try to be careful with communication, anything that's written, because that is always held against you in anything, because it's there.
Yeah.
It's hard to delete.
Looking ahead, looking forward, Walmart is obviously always going to be at the forefront of anything that's new, innovative. I'm not sure if this crosses your purview or not, but I know there's been some partnerships, opportunities with drone companies, other types of automation that Walmart may be looking at. Yeah. Are you involved in those things? What do you see happening there? And does that eliminate Spark? Does that Spark assist in that?
It doesn't eliminate Spark by any means. If anything, it makes us more efficient and faster, with especially the drones and the automation. I'm not personally overseeing any of that. I'm aware of it. I know we've done testing in Dallas. That's our biggest location to do a lot of those things for drones. We have autonomous vehicles going out and things like that. We also have our warehouses where you have all the technology from packing and moving, shuffling. I think for us, it's how do we make it more efficient? Again, try to cut costs anywhere we can to a certain extent so we can keep bringing low prices to the consumer. But that's their biggest concern, right, is low prices. Yeah. But
And from a consumer standpoint, you mentioned earlier, like one of the other challenges when you were outsourcing to other delivery partners is you maybe lost some of that the Walmart touch to that customer experience.
Yes.
Just from the growth you've seen with the Spark program and as it relates to customers and the customer satisfaction, which was a key metric for Walmart.
Yes, it is.
What have you seen from that standpoint? What are customers? What's the feedback you get from a customer?
We've come a long way. I think at first you would see, and with grocery delivery, I would order groceries and I would order a certain type of bread loaf, and it'd be like not the type, or it would be like one banana and I ordered 5 bananas. I'm like, this isn't what I ordered. Yeah. The technology's gotten smarter for the customers. We've taken in a lot of the customer feedback and where can we improve. But a lot of going forward, and something that my director has fought for is that the driver satisfaction metric to be tracked just as well. Because we go back to, people forget that these drivers are actually part of our brand, as much as we don't want to say that. And oh God, I have to edit that one out. I don't know.
We'll take that one out.
Drivers, as much as people don't want to admit it, are customer facing, right? And the happier the drivers are, the more willing I think that they're going to go the extra mile to, one, for their own business, and two, make the customers happy. Yeah. And that helps us knock out 2 birds with 1 stone, where if we can bring better things for the drivers and take into consideration what the drivers are saying, it's just going to have a natural effect that the customers are going to be happier because they're going to want to perform better. Not all drivers want to do that. We get it. Yeah. I don't live in La Land, but it does have a big effect. And we've actively been tracking our NPS scores around driver satisfaction and how they correlate with customer satisfaction. And it goes up. It's gotten better. So
just go back for a second. I want to ask you, when you said it a minute or two ago, drones and autonomous vehicles. Describe or paint the picture for exactly what is happening. The drone is picking up from where, delivering to where? Yeah.
So the drone's picking up from a store location or warehouse, depending on where the product is. Right now it's smaller items, and then it's only it's delivering within a small radius. I think it's within a mile. I honestly don't know too much about it because I really don't touch it too much, but it doesn't go that far. But it's anything within a close proximity. Okay. I would see major cities using this way sooner than a big residential area that's vast and far out.
You see a day where there's a multimodal solution. It goes drone to driver makes the final drop delivery. So there's maybe some connection point there.
It could be where you look at, there's warehouses, even like Amazon, they have their big hubs of warehouses. Maybe they're picking up from their third-party retailer, droning that to their warehouse to hub, and then picking it up. That's not far-fetched at all. Could definitely be part of that process. It could be a part of their roadmap now too for Walmart. I just don't know on that side personally.
A lot of people talking about AI nowadays. Technology, data is just as, and not more important than the delivery. Yeah. All these issues in the industry. Yeah. There's a lot of things happening. It's very fast paced. You've been someone who's been in the industry for a while now, helping to navigate all these changes and issues, technology. You also serve on this national board, the ECA, the Express Carriers Association board.
Yes.
How long have you been on the board? What does the ECA do? And how has it been instrumental for your career?
Yeah, no, great question. So I've been on the board for 4 years, and I sit on the technology chair, which talking about AI and everything like that.
Yeah.
I live that world daily, especially with ECA. We just added a chatbot to our website, which you think we would have already had. So I'm glad to say we have that now. But ECA, it's an awesome association. We get to partner with CLDA, which you're the past president of, which I'm sure hopefully the audience knows at this point. But we are basically a dating, I would say speed dating, obviously, dating service in a way. But we like to bring relationships together, right? Whether it's vendors, carriers, or shippers, we really focus on the shippers. But carriers come to meet shippers. They get to speak to each other every 13 minutes for 2 days straight. And then carriers come to meet vendors. And for me, it was very instrumental, ECA and CLDA, just growing those relationships in those networks within the association and getting to meet people. I now know so many people, I feel like, in this space just because of these two associations in general. But ECA, just being forced to talk to somebody every 13 minutes for basically 48 hours, I feel like you really start to get to know people, and you have to be really good at your elevator pitch. But it brought a lot of opportunity to us in the room and a lot of great connections within our space. When I was with Delivery Drivers Inc.
Yeah, it does a great job of forging these relationships, partnerships, and it's also an extension of the community. We get to see how they try to build with educating this players in the space. Because of the one thing that I love about what's happening right now in Final Mile is a surge of opportunities. When we're talking about Walmart Spark, we're talking about just e-commerce in general and what's happening and how our industry is now becoming more critical in those supply chain solutions. But in terms of next, if you had the crystal ball, we're looking 5 years from now, where do you see this space going, and what role will Walmart and you think continue to play in the evolution of what this thing is moving into?
That's a loaded question.
Yeah.
I
Predict
think
the future.
Everybody's telling me the answers.
Tell me the answer.
Without getting in trouble. No, Walmart's always thinking ahead, and AI coming on and as fast as it has really changed the game. And while people think, how can I use AI? And a lot of people think maybe just data or all those, like the little things, you really got to think, what can you use AI for? And for me, it's how can you use it to, you get into routing, right? You can get into how we pay the drivers. We can get into what other opportunities are out there. But you really, for us, I think it's focusing more on the drivers in the next few years. While yes, still growing the customer, making things faster, but what can we do for these drivers in the sense of, yes, autonomous vehicles are going to be out there. We're going to have drones, but you can't take out that human touch fully, I don't think, within the next 5 years. I don't think that's going to be a possibility. Personally, just speaking for myself here, but I think we're looking at what is that next stage of the driver? What is that with AI? What does that next stage of the driver look like? How do we make it more efficient? How do we make it quicker? How do we make it get more batched orders? And not just that, we don't just have drivers. We have the drivers going into the stores sometimes also picking the orders. So for the grocery orders, so they're actually packaging those as well. So how are we making that even more efficient in the next phase? So making that part quicker too. So from every part of the process, not just in the delivery part of that process, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it's compelling. You might be holding back a little bit. I don't know what y'all think. She's holding back a little bit.
Yeah, I can't say too much.
I can't say too much. But
I might get sued.
If you read between the lines, what you should be able to pick up is that the one thing that is inevitable is change.
Yes.
And if you're not thinking ahead and trying to position yourself for those opportunities, because there will continue to be opportunities.
Yeah.
I've talked to so many people so far, whether it was the fax machine that came into play, or Check for 21, email, like something will always come up. And you can either sit there and be a victim to it, or you can be a creator from it. And I know Walmart, and not that you can speak on behalf of the Walton family.
No, I cannot.
But they've always seemed to play 1 or 2 steps ahead of the game. And I'm excited that you have bigger players like that in our space now.
Yeah.
Because ultimately it's bringing more awareness. People like me get to have a podcast talking about stuff like this, which probably wouldn't happen 10 years ago.
Yeah. But it's now happening.
It's now happening. CJ the DJ, we didn't talk about this earlier. You have a little background.
I do.
In being on these mics. You're probably more comfortable than me right now.
I don't know about that, but.
So where's the CJ the DJ name come from?
So back when I was in junior college, I did jazz radio and OC rock radio. And so you had to come up with a fun name. And so for your air talent, and CJ the DJ, my nickname is CJ. For Carly Janine. Okay. So it just rolled off the tongue.
Yeah. It's smooth.
I should do a little intro for you.
Let's do it.
Let's see. I got to get my jazz voice on, I think.
don't know if we have a jazz audience, but I'm from the world. You do a little jazz.
Do a little jazz. I wouldn't do the rock one because it gets a little crazy.
Yeah.
Okay, so I used to be like, you're listening to. So you have to get like really smooth. But so you're listening to Jason Burns from First to Last. I don't know. I said from first to last.
First to last.
First to
last. First.
I'm dyslexic, y'all.
All right. So, Carly, this was phenomenal having you on the podcast.
Yeah, thank you.
Another full circle moment since you were one of the first people I told, say, hey, I'm thinking about doing this podcast thing. What do you think? So I appreciate not shooting an idea down.
Yes, you're welcome.
And for jumping on and really just your evolution and the role you've played in the final mile space and what you're doing now.
Thank you.
Really critical and important stuff. I think it's creating opportunities for both drivers and owners and doing it the right way. The compliance piece is something you don't want to miss when you are in this industry.
Yes.
You've got to make sure you're doing it the right way. Don't take the shortcut. Carly and her companies have done a great job of helping us with that over the years. And just really excited, man, to have you on. And
Thank you for having me. And if anybody's ever interested in finding out companies, there are other companies out there in this space that do help people with compliant driver or keep drivers compliant, like Open Force and SCI and GigSafe and things like that. So
absolutely.
There's a few of them out there today.
Yeah. Check out the TPAs in the space.
Yeah.
All right, Carly, thanks for being on the podcast. This is Jason Burns with Last2First, Carly Fliesher with Walmart Spark Program. We're out.
Bye.